Coming up here on Vikings Now by Chat Sports, we're going to be going over the latest Vikings injury news from Minnesota Vikings training camp. Some key players that could be missing the Week 1 preseason game versus the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to also be diving into a full preview where I'm going to be giving you guys what I am specifically looking for from our Minnesota Vikings in that game. And speaking of that game, we're also going to be live here on the channel. Watch parties are back. Football is in the air. There's just so much juice in the Chat Sports studios, and I'm so excited to get this going again. And if you guys want a little sneak peek of what our watch parties are like, here is actually the last clip from the last play from last season when the Vikings lost to the New York Giants.
This is the season right here.
To get
Fourth
the
and
first down.
4th and 8.
Oh, come on.
The Vikings have a trip planned in San Francisco. The trip is in San Francisco if they win. 4th and 8. Kirk Cousins shotgun.
Come on.
Dalvin Cook to the right. 3 on the play clock. Kirk Cousins drops back. 4-man pressure. Hits T.J. Hockenson, and he's going to be way short. I can't believe Kirk Cousins just took a check down on the most important play of the game. The Vikings are going to lose. Kirk Cousins just took a check down on the most important play of the game. The Vikings are going to lose this game. The Vikings are going to lose this game.
That one still hurts a little bit. I just can't believe Kirk actually took a check down with the season on the line on 4th and 8. But hopefully we'll have some more fun this Thursday with the preseason game versus Seattle Seahawks. Make sure you guys subscribe and tune in. Now coming up, the latest Minnesota Vikings injury news from Minnesota Vikings training camp with the game Thursday just around the corner. I think we started off here with the tight end T.J. Hockenson, as he has actually been dealing with an illness. You know, the reports have been coming out of camp that he has just kind of been practicing by himself along the sidelines, and a lot of people have been speculating, why isn't TJ fully participating with the rest of the team and running with the ones during the 11-on-11 drills? And this is where I was actually wrong. I thought TJ Hockenson was sitting out of the Vikings team activities for the past couple of practices because he's waiting on that contract extension. We know TJ Hockenson has an expiring deal this upcoming year, and he is expected to get paid as one of the highest paid tight ends in the league. So I thought he was kind of just sitting back, not wanting to risk any injury, but it turns out he is dealing with an illness, but maybe they could also be working on that contract as well. And speaking of highest paid tight ends in the league, I don't expect TJ Hockenson to get upward of $17 million per year, even that 15 range. But I do expect him to fall around where Dallas Goedert and Mark Andrews got their deals done, sitting around that $14 million of average annual salary. That's where I think Hawk will most likely get paid. But it's going to be curious to see how much, assets and how much money in this year's cap that they give to Hockenson. Obviously, I do think he is a top 5, top 7-ish tight end in the league, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets paid. And then the UDFA Andre Carter II out of Army. He is back from the PUP list, and he actually just had his first training camp practice with the Minnesota Vikings yesterday. So shout out to him. It's good to have him back, the UDFA out of Army. There's actually a photo of him and Daniil Hunter walking side by side next to each other, and he is just as big as Daniil. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can maybe crack this 53-man final roster and maybe actually be a rotational piece for this Vikes D-line. Then we also got a positive update on Andrew Booth Jr. He wasn't practicing the last 2 practices dating back to Saturday, and then also the Thursday night practice last week. Booth just wasn't there. So interesting to see that now he is fully back and healthy. We still didn't get any report on why specifically he was hanging out, but for a guy that dealt with injuries all last season, it's good to have him back in the Vikings cornerback room. They're really going to need him to have a big year and honestly just stay healthy. Some more positive injury news is Brian O'Neill, the big-time right tackle. He's back and actually was rehabbing on the sidelines of practices. We know last year he dealt with that torn Achilles in the Green Bay game. I believe that was week 15 of last season. So losing him last year during the playoffs definitely hurt the Vikings. I mean, we saw the New York Giants pass rush really get home during that playoff game just because mainly Brian O'Neill wasn't there. And PFF has always been a fan of what he does. He's always graded out well. He's one of the more consistent right tackles we've seen in the NFL over the past couple of seasons, and he grades out just like that. I mean, overall last year, 82.3 grade. Pass blocking a little less or a little worse than his run blocking grade, sitting at 77.9 comparison to his run blocking grade at 82.4. So overall, it's good to get Brian O'Neill back. You're going to need those tackles in the modern day game to kind of hold off those edge rushers. And we all know Kirk, not the most mobile quarterback in the NFL, so keeping him upright is a huge priority for this offense. And then James Lynch, this was the most devastating news from the latest Minnesota Vikings injury report. He tore his ACL, and he's going to be missing the remainder of next season. He's not going to be suiting up for the purple and gold on game days, and honestly, he's a huge loss to this Vikings defensive line heading into next season. You know, I'm a big fan of Kairos Tonga. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. And then you got the edges and Harrison Phillip and Dean Lowry that should kind of fill out the rest of this rotation here. But it's going to be interesting to see if maybe the Vikings try to add more depth to this defensive line. I mean, we talked about it yesterday on the show about maybe bringing in a guy like Linval Joseph. Maybe he comes back to Minnesota. He does still have a house around Minneapolis, so maybe he could be saying, you know, maybe I could come in and help out this Vikings team and help them, you know, win some games next season. They do have $9.9 million remaining in cap space, so they are still flexible. They can still bring in a guy. Maybe they wait a couple weeks into the season and maybe see if another guy, you know, is open up there on the market and they could bring him in. But it's going to be curious to see what the Vikings have to do there at the defensive tackle spot. So let me know, do you think the Vikings should add another defensive lineman with their $9.9 million remaining in cap space? Let me know down in the comments section. Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. This is going to be the YouTube ad break. So YouTube, of course, they're going to throw an ad break your way. Sit back, let it play, and let me know your thoughts. If the Vikings should add another defensive lineman, give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. Season's here, and I am so excited. We finally got some real football. Like, I'm a big fan of training camp and breaking down all that, but now we have some actual game film we're going to be going over. The game takes place in Seattle on August 10th. Vikings are actually 4.5-point dogs in this game. I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, Kevin O'Connell. He's not going to play any of the starters. He gets that from Sean McVay coming from his coaching tree. They're so anti-playing the starters in preseason. So that's why the Seattle Seahawks are 4.5-point favorites. And hey, if you guys want to go bet on this game, we have a great deal for you guys going on right now. If you guys head over to chatsports.com/bet, get hooked up with our sportsbook sponsor, BetUS. And if you guys use promo code CHAT125, you will get a 125% deposit bonus. What does that mean? If you put $100 into your account, and then they will give you $125 free to play with. So if you guys head to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125, you can bet on the Minnesota Vikings possibly winning the NFC North as they have been disrespected once again. This is a team that won 13 games last season and ran away with the division, and they are second according to the odds or the bookmakers out west. They're at plus 270 to win the division. So if you guys put down $100 and the Vikings do end up winning the NFC North, you will receive $270. So make sure you guys check it out. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125. So the number one thing I'm watching for is the QB battle for the backup quarterback position. It's going to come down to Nick Mullins and Jaren Hall. Obviously, Nick Mullins falls into more of that veteran backup, typical, like, if you guys need one game to go win, Nick Mullins can step in and do that. Where Jaren Hall, our fifth-round rookie out of BYU, he's got the upside. He's got the glitz. He's got the glamour. He's got the spark that people are going to be wanting to watch during the preseason. So watching those two just man the offenses. Last year, the Vikings did a lot of first half, second half with their quarterbacks. So I expect the same this upcoming year with maybe the first half's Nick Mullins, second half is Jaren Hall. But I'm excited to watch those two sling the rock during week one of the preseason. And then number two, rookies, and even more rookies. I'm so excited to watch this Vikings draft class play. And there's four specific guys that I am going to be kind of specifically having my eye on during the game. The first guy, it's got to be the 23rd overall pick out of USC, Jordan Addison. I expect him to get a good amount of run during this year's preseason. It's going to be, obviously, you know, he's not going to be, catching balls from Kirk Cousins. He's going to be catching balls from Nick Mullins and Jaren Hall, but it's still going to be excited to see him just run routes and just out there in the purple and gold. And then the UDFA, Ivan Pace Jr., the reports are coming out that he is running with the ones during Vikings training camp. So, again, it's just going to be fun to see this guy play. He's a hard hitter. Just to finally see him on the game or on the field for the Vikes, it's going to be a ton of fun. And then also the rookie, Mekhi Blackman. We obviously know the Vikings need a ton of help at that cornerback room. Maybe he can impress the coaching staff, impress Brian Flores, and work his way up in the rotation. And then Jacqueline Roy, the defensive tackle out of LSU, he has been turning heads at training camp. So he's another guy, you know, maybe we don't need a James Lynch replacement. We could just head over to Jacqueline Roy, be the defensive tackle of the future. So those are four guys I'm excited to watch. And if you guys want to come hang out with me during the game, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We're going to be live 30 minutes before kickoff at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. So make sure you guys subscribe, stay in the loop, and we will be live. So make sure you guys join us. We're going to have a little watch party battle with our Seattle Seahawks channel here at Chat Sports. It's a ton of fun. If you guys haven't joined us for a watch party, make sure you do so. Number three, the third thing I'm watching here during the Vikings preseason game is the cornerbacks. Obviously, the Vikings cornerback room, there is question marks all over. Like, besides cornerback 1 with Byron Murphy, we really don't know who is going to be CB2 and who is going to be CB3 going into the year. Obviously, right now I have it slated in as Andrew Booth Jr. and Caleb Evans, but we have heard multiple guys getting reps with the ones during training camp. Even guys like Tay Gowan, Kalen Barnes, Joejuan Williams, the second rounder we got from the New England Patriots back in the 2019 draft, he was getting a ton of reps with the first team. Then also rookie Mekhi Blackman, he was also getting reps with the ones during practice. So I got my eyes specifically on this cornerback group. And then if we're looking towards week 1 of the regular season, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming in the U.S. Bank Stadium. You know, maybe whatever you think of the Buccaneers this year, they have wide receivers. They got Mike Evans. They got Chris Godwin. They're going to be ready to go. So I'm going to have my eyes out for the Vikings cornerbacks. I'm also looking at the running back position for the Minnesota Vikings because Alexander Mattison, he'll most likely be RB1 and getting a lot of the first-team reps heading into the season, but it's going to come down to RB2. Ty Chandler versus Kene Nwangwu. Who is going to be that second running back for this Vikings team in the upcoming year. As of right now, I am leading Ty Chandler to be that guy, to kind of be the lightning to the Alexander Mattison being the thunder for this running back group. But don't be shocked if Kene Nwangwu gets a ton of kind of those special reps where it's like the halfback screens, where it's a jet passes, just because of how fast and explosive he is and how creative Kevin O'Connell gets with certain gadget players in his offense. Kene Nwangwu is a guy that I'm going to keep my eyes out for. It's just a guy that could be getting, some of those fun plays, some of those gadget plays like we've been talking about. So Kene Nwangwu versus Ty Chandler, that battle for RB2, who's going to look like the better pure running back in the preseason game on Thursday is something else I am watching. And then the fifth thing, probably the thing I'm most excited about, Brian frickin' Flores. Just to see this new Vikings defense finally get out on that field. We've heard the reports from camp. We heard the reports from Kirk Cousins that it looks like a totally different defense out there, and I bet you it does. And one specific position group I have my eye on when playing under Brian Flores is this safety room. I think if there's one guy that could have a rejuvenated year for the Vikes, it's Harrison Smith. He's an extremely, extremely versatile player in the NFL. He can hop in the box. He can run deep zone. He can really do it all, and that's where we saw Harrison really excel under Mike Zimmer, was when he was moving them all over the field. And a clip from 2 practices ago from the night practice, Harrison Smith actually had 2 sacks in that game. So it's going to be fun to see him play. And then also Lewis Seen, he's extremely versatile as well. And even a guy like Josh Metellus, we've heard Brian Flores rave about him, rave about his intelligence on the football field. So this safety room, if we're talking about one position group that's going to benefit the most from Brian Flores being the defensive coordinator now in comparison to Ed Donatel last year, for sure it's going to be that safety group. And I'm just excited to watch these guys frickin' play football finally and hit somebody else besides themselves and go hit that other football team. And if you guys are excited as I am about Vikings football being back, give me a skull down in the comment section. I want it looking like US Bank Stadium, noon, week 1 game day as they're blowing the gala horn and all the fans are saying skull in the stadium. So give me a skull down in the comment section, and we'll see you guys next time.